Hey guys, how's it going? I really don't know really how to make a really. I just feel like making the intro for these kind of feel weird. I kind of just don't know what to say in the beginning, but I hope you guys had an amazing day. And yeah, without further ado, let's just get ahead and dive straight into this Reddit story. So, for context, the female is 25 and the boyfriend is 27. I have been in a relationship with my boyfriend for 4 years. Our relationship has been very good for the most part, some fights here and there, but nothing worth noting until a week ago. I got a call from my brother telling me my mom had passed away last Friday. Growing up, I was never super close with her. We were usually fighting, but over the last 5 years, our relationship improved tremendously. We text throughout the week, and every Sunday I would go on 4 to 5 hour drives with her on speaker to keep me company, talking about anything and everything under the sun. She became my best friend. For context, my boyfriend knows how close we had gotten and had even joined me for some of those drives. Now, here is the problem. My boyfriend has a fairly close group of friends that he keeps up with, usually gaming with them throughout the week. Then, once a month, him and his friends will hang out and drink. He lets me know a few days prior that he would be hanging out with them that Friday. When I got the news, I immediately called him, breaking down and telling him I didn't know what to do and that I knew I needed to be with him tonight. He went from counseling me to saying, I let you know a few days ago I have plans with my friends. I only get to see them once a month. I told him I understand, but I really needed him and I'm sure they would reschedule. To which he said they definitely wouldn't be able to as they all have their own responsibilities. After some more time going back and forth, I gave in and said I would be okay with him going as long as he left early. Since he leaves at 7 p.m., I said I would like for him to come back by 11. He agreed. I spent the night going through texts of my mom, her photos, everything I could. I tried to distract myself with other things, but nothing worked. 10 p.m. rolls around and I texted my boyfriend, will you be leaving in an hour? To which he responds, you told me 12, so I'll be leaving then. I told him I said 11 and I was standing by that. He didn't respond after and came home at 12. I asked him why he didn't reply and why didn't he just come back an hour earlier. He immediately got upset with me, telling me I was being selfish for ruining his night with his friends. Him spending an extra hour there means nothing since he still left early, and I would be fine since I didn't spend my childhood with her anyways. I told him I didn't even want to go out with him that day to begin with, since I had just gotten the news, but I agreed to it under that specific condition, and so had he. He could also just catch up with his friends when they gamed during the week. The fight ended with him telling me I was again being selfish as he doesn't get to see them in person often and that I shouldn't expect him to drop everything for me. We've been fairly cold to each other since which he has left me overthinking and re-evaluating our relationship. On one hand, I am extremely heartbroken he wasn't there for me, and I know that's not something I want for my future, but on the other hand, his words have definitely gotten to me and I feel bad for separating him from his friends. I also know it would break me more to lose someone else so close to me. Where do I go from here? Wow. Let's just go ahead and lay this out and let's just talk about this and just give you my thoughts. This is honestly just heartbreaking. Like she just lost her mom. Not only that, but like her mom became her best friend in the last years. As we get older, we really value the relationships we have with our mom and dad because we realize time flies by so quick and we really want to cherish as much time as we can with them. And her having that relationship with her mom, that type of strength during the last 5 years, with her long hours of call every Sunday, like that bond is deep. And so when she heard the worst possible news that her mom passed away, the first person she reached out to was her boyfriend. And that's exactly what you expect in a healthy, supportive relationship to go to your partner. But here is where things take a sharp turn because instead of stepping up, instead of realizing that this is one of those rare life-altering moments where your partner needs you more than anything else, the fact that her boyfriend chose his monthly hangout with his friends, and not just that, like when she begged him to at least leave early, he agreed to leave at 11. Then he had the audacity to gaslight her about it and stayed until 12 and got defensive when he got confronted by her. Now, let's pause right here and think about this because this isn't just about an hour. This is not about curfews, schedules, or inconveniences at all. Like in this moment, it is about priorities. And like I can't believe like this the girlfriend right now is really in one of her most vulnerable moments in her life. And the fact that the boyfriend couldn't sacrifice a single night, a night he can easily make up for, to be by her side, to me that speaks volumes. Then he had the audacity to say, "You'll be fine since you didn't even spend your childhood with her anyways." That is completely cruel. Where is this guy? Where is this his logic run? And like that's not just dismissive. How I'm seeing it is like he's weaponizing her past against her grief. And that kind of statement you can't take back once it's out there. You really have to be careful with your words. And sometimes I feel like over time, people show who they really are. So here's my take on this, to be honest. This isn't just a fight. Really, it's this moment right here is a glimpse of how he values her needs versus his own wants. Because really, relationships are tested in moments of crisis, not when things are easy. And really, in this moment, he failed that test. Because instead of showing up, he made her feel like a burden for asking for support. Like, that's not selfish for the female, for her partner to ask that, because that's the bare minimum in a partnership. The bare minimum. And really, the fact now that she's left overthinking, wondering if she was the problem. Like, that's what happens when someone chips away at your emotional reality. And really, the truth is, honestly, is she wasn't asking him to drop everything. She was asking him to be there for her in her worst moment of her life. Like, that's not unreasonable. That's love. Like, you have to be there for your partner in the highs and the lows. Show them that you care. At the end of the day, people show you who they really are when it counts. And her boyfriend showed her that when push comes to shove, his monthly night out takes more importance than her grief. And that is the ultimate red flag. That is a pay attention moment. And if I'm being completely blunt and honest, this female deserves someone who doesn't have to think twice about showing up for her, not someone who makes her feel guilty for needing them. Okay, so there is an update on this story. Let's go ahead and read this and see what happens. I want to start off by saying thank you so much to everyone that commented. I spent a good while reading every single comment, so for everyone that gave me advice and shared their stories, please know I am extremely grateful for you. I also really appreciate everyone that gave me their condolences. Now here's the update. A little while after posting, one of my boyfriend's friends reached out to me. He asked me if I had posted it, because if I did, he had something to tell me. I said yes, and he told me before my boyfriend left their boys' night, he had started complaining about me to everyone there, telling them I was being a psycho and forcing him to leave. He completely lied about my relationship with my mom and told them I wasn't close with her at all, rarely talked to her. Anytime I mentioned her, I did nothing but shit talk her, and that I was using her death as a way to control him. I also learned throughout our entire relationship, he'd tell his friend about every fight of ours and again would completely lie about everything that happened to them. For context, I am not close with any of his friends, and he had apparently told them I was faking my personality whenever I interacted with them and shit talked them when they weren't around as well, which is pretty ironic, so I don't necessarily blame them for believing it. The only reason why his friends reached out was because my boyfriend had done the same thing in past relationships, and he was starting to get suspicious and tired of it. I confronted my boyfriend about it afterwards, and he denied everything for a while, before ultimately admitting to it all. He started crying, saying he doesn't know why he's like this, but that he loves me, can't live without me, anything and everything you can think of. I packed whatever I could and told him I needed time to think. I'd be staying with my brother in the meantime, as I had to drive out to go to my mom's funeral and go there for her things. So for the few things that I asked if I had another support system, my family lives a few states away, as my boyfriend and I started out long distance, and I moved away from them for a couple of years ago for him. The few new friends I made are away traveling for the summer, which I couldn't join in for numerous reasons. I also couldn't get out of bed for the majority of weeks, so I didn't leave sooner. What he didn't know at that time was that I didn't need time to think, and I had already decided I would not be coming back. As I said in my original post, there was nothing awful worth noting about him during our relationship. He didn't treat me exceptionally well, but not terrible either. So prior to his friends reaching out, I genuinely didn't know what to think of the situation. To me, it was out of character for him. My main thought was the news of her passing might have hurt him a lot as well, and he didn't know how to handle it. But I now know that he was an entirely different person with his friends, and what was out of character for me was completely in character for them. It definitely scares me to think of what would have happened if I didn't post and never learned the things he was saying when I wasn't around. I also have no clue what I would do if another life-changing event happened and he put something else above me being there for me. So to everyone that wanted to update, just know I have completely removed him from my life. No amount of tears and fake apologies will convince me otherwise. He wasn't there when I needed him, and that's enough. But the lying and fake stories he'd share on top of that is terrifying. I know my mom would rip me a new one if she heard all of this and I did anything other than leave him. I will always be grateful for this little corner of the internet and the awful future it saved me from. Wow. Oh my goodness. I'm jumping for joy. Okay, here's my input. All right. This update changes everything because at first, the girlfriend seemed like she was caught in a gray area. You know, her boyfriend wasn't being supportive during one of the worst weeks of her life. But it was unclear if that was a one-off, maybe tied to his own immaturity or inability to process grief. But now, bro, we learned he was running a whole side campaign of lies, smearing her character to his friends, inventing stories about her relationship with her mom, and even making her grief look like manipulation. And really, this isn't about being unsupportive. This is about image management. You know, he wanted to look like the victim to his friends. And so what he did was he fabricated an alternative reality where she's psycho, she's faking her personality, and she's using her mom's death for control. And like, that is scary. That's chilling. Like, it doesn't show he's not just selfish. Like, he calculated this. Whether he meant it shows selfishness, but like, he calculated this. And really, what makes this worse is the pattern that he did. You know, you had his friends reach out and confirm that he's done this before with other girlfriends. Meaning, the girlfriend in this situation, she wasn't the first one. She was just the latest. And really, that turns the question from, did he handle grief badly, or does this guy know how to be genuine with anyone? And honestly, I clapped because I respect the female so much for the way she left. I have to give her another round of applause. I love that so much because she gave herself a cover story. You know, she said, I need time to think, but she already knew she was done. She already knew that I shouldn't even be here any longer. And you know, that's clarity. And honestly, it's the safest way to leave someone who's been lying so thoroughly to you. You know, you don't announce it, you just go. And so really the final thought I want to lock in this is when the female said her mom would rip her a new one if she stayed, like, to me, that was like a guiding star for her, because sometimes I feel like clarity comes from imagining what that person you lost would want for you. And really, in this case, the mom wouldn't want her daughter mourning while tied to someone who can't even honor the truth. So honestly, the big picture here is this update turned to what looked like maybe he's just a selfish situation into a major red flag escape story. Really, the female in this story didn't just dodge neglect, she dodged a life with someone who lives in lies. And this story is a perfect reminder that sometimes people reveal their true colors in the worst moments of our lives. You know, the girlfriend didn't just lose her mom. You know, she also lost the illusion of who she thought her boyfriend was. And honestly, that is a blessing in disguise, because I can't imagine spending years with someone who publicly trashes you, lies to you about his friends, and then he plays victim when he's confronted. Like, that is not love. That is manipulation, and that is tarnishing your image. And I'm so glad she walked away, because that shows strength, monumental strength, because it's easy to stay when someone is crying, when someone is begging, when someone's saying all the right words. But you know deep down that you know who this person is, because really she saw through his act. She packed her bags and chose herself. And that is so, I'm just actually so happy for her. Like, that is growth, that's power. And really, at the end of the day, like, grief shows us who really belongs in our corner. And in this case, for this story, it wasn't her boyfriend, it was her family, her brother, and even strangers on the internet who showed her more love and honesty than the man she lived with. Really, the internet is such a powerful thing, honestly. We can help so many people, and it's just so crazy that we have this ability to help people overcome situations. And sometimes, really, the biggest heartbreak isn't losing someone, it's realizing they were never really who you thought they were. And the best move you can make is walking away.